Hey guys, so on this Thanksgiving Eve, I'm gonna, as I wait for my bus as well, gonna give you my predictions and thoughts on Survivor Series Wargames, which is this Saturday. And by the way, in case you don't know, Tony Khan once again is gonna try to compete head to head with WWE by having both Collision and Rampage air simultaneously, at the same time as Survivor Series. So yeah, it looks like Tony Khan, I guess you could say, is a glutton for punishment when it comes to going up against WWE. It's like he is based, give him credit, he is determined to prove that his product is better, even though he realizes there's not a chance whatsoever that basically he's going to succeed. Not a chance whatsoever that he's going to succeed. But give him credit where it's due. Give him credit where it's due. He's determined to succeed. He's determined to be number one, if you will. But let's talk about Survivor Series, shall we? Because that's going to probably be the one that people watch the most of, out of all the wrestling on Saturday. So let's talk about Survivor Series for a moment, shall we? First of all, let's talk about Wargames. A lot of us were kind of concerned whether or not Wargames was, going to happen. Because Vince pretty much was still, I guess you could say, running things, even though it was, pictured and featured to be Triple H that was running things and stuff. A lot of people weren't sure if Wargames would even happen because, Vince had a strong presence still. But it seemed that basically once the merger with, Ari Emanuel's Endeavor and the TKO group came to be, I think a lot of people started realizing that worry was whether or not we'd get Wargames was, subsiding. Not much, but it was subsiding. But I think that worry really started to fade away when basically, it got revealed that Triple H is 99.9% in control creatively and booking wise, with WWE, and Vince is only like a 0.1%, in control, like barely in control, but he's got like a 0.1 there. And, once news, got out about that, a lot of people were, pretty much, like I said, relieved in everything that worry that they had finally dissipated, if you will. But speaking of Survivor Series, let's talk about the card itself. One of the matches that's going to happen is Carlito is against Santos Escobar. And this is obviously a battle of, former LWO member versus current LWO member. It's a battle of, based on jealousy and everything. And, it's also based on the fact that Santos, feels that basically Ray was using him, and heck, he even said, "Look, Dominik was right about you. You don't care about anybody but yourself. You're selfish and everything. You don't care about anybody but yourself." So, anyway, long story short, Santos is now a heel. And there is rumor that Los Lotharios, that's Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, like I said, Humberto Carrillo and Angel Garza, there is rumor going around that they might get called back up and positioned, with Santos as the new Los Camaranes, so Los Camaranes, if you will, group. that once was in NXT and then briefly in WW, then briefly on SmackDown before becoming LWO. So there's rumor about that. There's a rumor about that and everything. And you know, the match itself ought to be good because, you know, Santos, you know, is one of the best luchadors out there today. Carlito has always been good when given the opportunity to be good. And we'll just have to, you know, see how it plays out. But the question is, who goes over? Well, you just turned him heel. You know, obviously you'd have to go with Santos. You know, some would say you got to go with Carlito because it's his first major pay-per-view match back and everything. And not singles-wise, it's his first major pay-per-view match back. You know, since the 8-man tag he was involved in prior against the Hurt Business. So the question obviously is, do you go with Carlito, give him his first major singles win since returning, or do you go with Santos? And you know, this is one of those toss-ups. But you know, some would say you got to go with Santos because you want to build heat on him. And maybe you have Los Lotharios interfere, and there's your new Los Incomparables group for SmackDown. But again, we'll have to just sit back and see what happens. You know, maybe Los Lotharios interferes, and maybe, heck, we get that, if she's still in the contract, that Elektra girl up here as well. And, well, there you go. But we'll have to see. But that's a match, that's a toss-up. Then we have the Intercontinental Championship match. We have basically Gunther defending against The Miz. They are trying their best to get Miz over as a babyface this time around. And you know, as they say, hey, the third time's the charm. Well, obviously the third time might be the charm because it's under the booking of Triple H. Remember, the previous two times it was under Vince McMahon. And, you know, despite trying their best when it was under Vince, it never took off. Here with Triple H, it might just take off because he knows how to allow people to get themselves over as babyfaces, you know, by doing their own things, even if he is suggesting, you know, on what they do. You know, making suggestions, you know, what have you. So, you know, Miz getting over as a babyface, you know, it might work this time, may not, we'll have to see. Gunther, you know, his promo off, if you will, with Miz on Monday was actually good. He's definitely showing that once he gets that major league push, you know, to the very top, you know, once he gets that major league push to the top, you know, that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, you know, as a world champion, you know, as a main eventer. So, you know, we'll see what happens. You know, we'll see what happens in you know, and everything. You know, we'll see what happens. Like I said, you know, sorry about the interruption. But like I said, his promo off with Miz was pretty good. And and he definitely looks like he's going to be able to hold his own once he gets that major league push to the very top. So, you know, especially if he becomes a world champ or WWE champ. So we'll see what they got in store for him. The match itself ought to be all right. You know, it ought to be good. I mean, Gunther is one of those guys that, you know, can pull a good match out of anybody. And Miz has shown that he can wrestle good matches. So it ought to be a decent match. I do expect Gunther to win. But it might be one of those scenarios to where, you know, you have Imperium interfere, you know, and everything. And, you know, it's Giovanni Da Vinci that helps Gunther win, and Ludwig that almost causes Gunther to lose. So he'll win, but it'll be thanks to Imperium interference, which can continue the feud and everything going into Royal Rumble and the end of the year, the last Raw and everything of 2023. But it'll be good. It'll be really good. Now, as far as the other championship match we have that night, we have the women's world title match, Rhea Ripley, Zoey Stark. Zoey, despite how you feel about this match being built up, she definitely has shown she has personality, and she has shown that she can be, unintimidable, if you will. In other words, she will not be intimidated by Rhea. She's one of those people that will not be intimidated by her. And she always brings up the fact that, hey, I hit you with the Z360, at Crown Jewel, so I know I can do it, and I know by doing so I can beat you. But that's something that's going to be up in the air, because we don't know what kind of night, Judgment Day is going to have overall. And I think this match will be I think this match is going to be one, if not maybe the only victory that Judgment Day has all night at Survivor Series. I mean, if they give the belt to Zoey, that would be a shocker and everything. But I got to go Rhea on this one. Rhea is really killing it right now as champion. Fans are behind her, despite her being a heel. And there are times she even does embrace it and acknowledge to the fans, like, yeah, you could say this and say that, that. So she's kind of that tweener heel, facious heel, if you will, that, will get on the fans, be, mean to them and all that, heelish towards them, but will basically accept, hey, if you guys like me, I'm cool with that. So I definitely think the match between her and Zoey will be good. It will be good. And I think Zoey will hit the Z360, as she calls it. But I see Rhea kicking out. And that, to me, would be like a wake-up call to her. And I see Rhea, hitting a riptide not once but twice on Zoey. Because I think Zoey will be positioned in this match as being a very tough opponent, to the point that Rhea is going to realize, hey, one riptide is not going to put her away, but two will. So I can see that happening, and I see Rhea retaining the championship. Okay, so that's 3 matches down that I just mentioned. Now we get to the War Games matches. Let's start with the women, and I think the women, outside of the Santos-Carlito match, I think the women's War Games might start the match off, if not be the second match on the card. And this match is going to be good because, a lot of people are looking at the components, the people involved, and there's no doubt I have to agree with that. Because here you have Damage Control, which consists of Bayley, Io Sky, Kairi Sane, and Asuka against the team of Charlotte, Shotzi, Bianca Belair, and Becky Lynch. Now, there's no doubt in my mind that Damage Control could be booked to win the match and go over. I'm not denying that. But I just don't see that happening. What I see happening is Damage Control losing, and I see them losing either because Bayley gets pinned, and then she gets turned on afterwards by the other women, including Dakota, and thus get kicked out of her own group that she created, or I see Damage Control losing because they'll try to turn on Bayley during the match, and Bayley will catch them in the act. Like maybe they'll try to swing a kendo stick at her, and she'll just turn around and grab it and be like, hey, I was on to you the whole time. That could happen too. So I'm gonna go with the team of Charlotte, Becky, Bianca, and Shotzi to win this match. I'm gonna go with them to win it, and I'm gonna go with either Bayley taking the pin and then she gets turned on, or I'm going with Io taking the pin because she's caught on to what's going on and she's staying one step ahead of them. So either way, I see team Charlotte, Bianca, Shotzi, Becky walking out with the win. Now, as far as the men's War Games match goes, I could definitely, that to me, I think is a toss-up. As far as the men's go, now as we get to the men's match, I will say this, I think the men's match will be good. And again, like I said, this will be interesting to see whether or not Judgment Day goes 2 for 0. You know, whether they go 2 for 0 or 2-0 at Survivor Series. But to me, this is going to be Team Rhodes' match to win. It will be. Now, what's interesting is the factor, storyline-wise, what's interesting is the factor of, you know, Cody bringing in Randy Orton. And then you see, when he made the announcement, basically, that Randy was going to be their teammate, you saw the look on Jey Uso's face, like, oh, shit. You know, that's not good for me. Because he knows Randy does not forgive or forget what happens to him when he gets taken out. So, you know, so basically, that's going to make things very interesting as we go into War Games and throughout War Games. That's going to make things a lot interesting, you know, as time goes on throughout the match. That's going to make things a lot interesting as, you know, the match progresses and everything throughout. But either way, I'm seeing Team Rhodes win. I'm seeing Dominik or Damian taking the pin. And the reason I say Dominik or Damian, because I could see Damian trying to cash in on Seth, and you know, as I said in one video, I could see Drew stopping him and tossing the briefcase out of the cage and basically saying, hey, if anybody's going to beat Seth for the title, it's going to be me. I could see that. Or I could see Dominik walking right into an RKO by Randy, and Randy gets the pin for his team. And then maybe Randy, afterwards, as they're celebrating, hits either Cody with an RKO or hits Jey with an RKO. And then that's where we leave off on Survivor Series. But either way, I see Team Rhodes winning. You know, the match, I see him winning. The match, which I think is going to be good. And I think, again, you know, how it's done is either Damian tries to cash in and Drew stops him, and that causes dissension and an opening for Team Rhodes to win. Or I see Dominik being the one that takes the pinfall here and everything. Maybe even JD McDonagh. But I see mostly Dominik, you know, or Damian taking the pinfall, and thus Team Rhodes winning. And then, like I said, the aftermath is I can see Randy hitting an RKO on Cody or Jey, and then that's how we leave off or go off the air for Survivor Series, and thus cliffhangering it for Monday Night Raw. But those are all my thoughts and predictions on Survivor Series this Saturday, Survivor Series War Games. Let me know what your thoughts are, guys. Comment down below. Love to hear from each and every one of you. What are your predictions? And until next time, I am out.